Hey, Pyrrha, what do you think? You want to stay at home in the air conditioning? Sit. Good girl. Pyrrha, high five. That's jump, but okay. Welcome to the shop. I'm Jared, and this is Wrench Every Day. As you can tell by my glistening appearance, we are back at Site B in Georgia. I no longer have the air conditioning that HQ has, which is a little unfortunate because it's about 108 inside our building, and whenever I'm filming, I have to turn the big exhaust fans off. So we'll get some talking over with so I can get the fans going. Today on our 1971 International Harvester Johnny Rev edition, as we've named, as we put a junkyard LS engine in it, as well as a Corvette C5 front suspension to make this thing handle incredibly well. It has one flaw right now. It's not cool enough. It's cool, but we don't have any of our cooling systems installed. So we're going to tackle that today. We are going to get our power steering cooler, our transmission cooler. We're going to get our radiator connected. We're going to get some radiator fans installed, as well as go through and set up our fancy solid state relays. So we're going to go into a little bit of detail of each part. The cooling fan with fan shroud, that is actually a donor from the GS300 that I stole the engine for Earl out of. And I saw it sitting on the shelf while I was in Florida, so I took it and brought it back with me. Sorry, Tavarish, but that's where that went if you're looking for it. So that is going to mount onto the radiator, and that will pull air through to help cool the coolant. Now, this being a work truck, our transmission's going to get hot pulling and towing, so we've got this nice, big, beefy transmission cooler. We're going to go through the proper ways of mounting a transmission cooler, which way you want the fluid nipples pointed, important details like that. I have got 2 sticks of 3/8 hardline. It's kind of hard to see, they disappear into the truck. One of the reasons you want to use as much hardline as possible when you're installing a transmission cooler is transmission fluid is very, very flammable. It has a low flash point, and they generally run right next to the exhaust manifolds or the exhaust piping. So if you had a hose on that rubber line that you've run 10 feet of, it's now going to start spraying hot transmission fluid directly onto an exhaust manifold, and that creates fire. So we're not all Tavarish. We don't all like fire. So we're going to try to mitigate that. In order to set up and run that transmission cooler, we've got these adapter fittings to go into the factory push lines from ICT Billet. And then, well, you can't see them, but these are just some 90-degree hose barbs. Then the other fun thing we've got are some radiator hoses. You would think finding radiator hoses for this configuration would be nigh impossible. And we went through my favorite thing called the hose game, where you measure your hose diameter that you need for each side, then kind of the distance between them and the rough shape, take some pictures, and then you just, hopefully you have a good relationship with your local parts store, and you just ask, can I go look at radiator hoses? And you start walking through, measuring and coming up with ideas, and finally, you're gonna find something that works or could work with one joiner. So we've got that. In here, we've got a power steering cooler. Normally there's one mounted on the subframe, but our setup didn't come with one. So we are going to mount a single pass, pretty much like a factory one, right down where the factory one would go. So when you're mounting a transmission cooler, that's what this is. It looks like a small radiator. It's an additional fluid cooler to keep the heat out of your transmission. Transmissions, when they get hot, like to fail very, very quickly. When you're looking at mounting your cooler, you have your fluid inputs and output. You need to make it so your lowest point is your input from your transmission. That's where the fluid's coming out. It will push up, push air pockets out, and return. So nipples never down, and if you're horizontal, in is on the bottom. So the way we're looking to mount this in the truck, I'll have to build one bracket. Well, I guess 2. Slip that in. On this truck, when we go to add AC, it sits in front of the condenser section. You would normally try to put this in front of your AC condenser. Because I'm going with such a huge one, it's not going to work. But we're going to basically center it in the front end. It's going to have good airflow. we are going to pull, oh no, don't drop it. We're gonna pull the radiator, mount that directly with 2 bolts to the core support, and we'll just build 2 little brackets to go from that mount to the center. And then for other mounting, our Flexolite fan with its universal brackets, we can set this here, line it up, and they have these brackets where I'll be able to drill a hole and bolt it directly here. And that's our cooling fan mounted. So we're gonna make some good progress real quick. So now we're gonna take some stuff apart and get it to work. Well, if you can't tell, it is hot in here. I believe the dyno weather station places us at almost 107 degrees, cooking inside Site B. So Tavarish is right. Florida's a little bit better now that he has air conditioning in the shop. Also, this might be one of the last times we have Pyrrha here for the summer. Hey, Pyrrha, what do you think? You want to stay at home in the air conditioning? Sit. Good girl. Pyrrha, high five. That's jump, but okay. Back to some business. What we've been doing on our radiator, we have our fan mounted using the Flexolite universal brackets. They were already kind of cut to perfect length. So we drilled 4 holes, bolted it down. We've cleaned up the wiring a little bit. This will be our ground lug joining the major frame bracket. And these will go to our fan control relays. So we have those buttoned up. We can come back over to the truck where we are going to make one more bracket for the transmission cooler here. Once that is done, we'll get some more wiring going so we can try to hurry up and get to some air conditioning because it's hot. Let's get you guys caught up to speed. We have got the solid state relays wired up. We've got the radiator in. We connected radiator hoses. We've got a trans cooler mounted. So these are off the shelf hoses. I was able to again take measurements and find pretty much exactly what we need. It's a little loose here, so I may have to get a reducer. I still need to add a port for the steam ports. That is, on your LSs, they have these crossover and they get hot spots, and this vents the steam, the superheated coolant, back to the radiator quickly. So there's a small inline usually used to add a gauge that I can cut and put in that place and tap that hose back in. So that'll probably be what we do. So these are the solid state relays. What's unique about these is they operate on pulse width modulation, which means the ECU can send a signal anywhere from 1% on to 100% on. And what that does is adjust the output voltage so you can have variable speed fans. You don't necessarily always need them running 100%. Makes a lot of noise, and again, it's not necessary. Now, when you're shopping for a solid state relay, these are knockoffs. You should expect to pay $60 to $70, maybe even $80 for 40 amp Photech relay. I got 5 for $30. There's a couple things you can tell. The big one is if you look at the sticker in the corner, there's a little diagonal cut on the sticker where a genuine one wouldn't have that. Font's a little bit different, and the 2 lines, top and bottom, are going to be the same thickness instead of that really thin one. If they blow up, we'll get genuine ones. I just wanted to throw them in. What's unique about these is there's no moving parts inside. A traditional relay, I've got one here that I broke the top off of. This is your coil that when it receives power will draw this little switching contact closed. Let's see if I can get it clear enough that you can actually see it move. So these can wear out and you can get arcing and they'll stick. So it's just a cool thing to be able to run newer technology. These work great. I just wanted to try something different. So we've got everything wired up. I'm just going to key on and see that they work, that they show that they're energized, and then we'll ground the signal to see if it'll turn the fans on. So hopefully we also just don't get a bunch of smoke, which is always a possibility. Okay, truck is keyed on. I believe these should have, all right, no LED. So let me grab a grounding cable. So we have our test lead connected to ground, and I should be able to touch this anywhere to body, and one of these fans should turn on. All right, let me try a better ground. Apparently you didn't like that one. There we go. LED's on. So the way it works is it pulses a lot quicker than I'm able to tap. And that's how you get a reduced fan speed. What do you think, Pierre? Are you tired? You wanna give me a high five? You gonna do a high five now? No, you're laying down, and why would you do that? So, fans will work, which is always a good thing. Still left, I've got to pick up a couple bolts for my clamps, and we will get transmission cooler lines done, heater core plumbed, and then, if he wasn't cool enough, Johnny Reb is ready to stay cool.
Hey guys, Dwayne the editor here. While Jared is messing with his hoses, here's a bit of Wrench Everyday trivia. Jared is not just a big guy physically, he also has a very big heart. For example, here he is ever so carefully helping a neighbor prune a delicate tree in her front yard. So now you know that Jared doesn't just work on cars.
Whew. It's still quite warm, but we are working to keep Johnny Rev cool. What we've gotten done so far this morning, we've got our heater core plumbed in. Those are the nipples off the water pump that come up to the heater box with the old international control valve. A quick tip when you are plumbing your LS or really any kind of swap vehicle, you need to make sure you have your inputs and your outputs correct from your water pump or wherever else the coolant takes off to the heater core. If you look at most pressurized systems, your AC, your power steering, the pressure side, the output side is almost universally the smaller nipple. So that applies to most everything, but a quick double check on the flow diagrams are going to have your coolant running correctly so everything does exactly what it's supposed to. Camera's about to overheat again, so we are gonna go ahead and let it cool off and get back to work. we've got our hoses run down to the front transmission cooler. They'll come through here. I'm going to put a little bit of anti-abrasion so we don't cut. They then come down to our bent transmission cooler lines that run back into the abyss where they kick into some AN fittings to the transmission. I don't have clamps on just yet because we're going to take all of this back off in the next episode because we're heading to site GRC where we're going to finish suspension fabrication and exhaust. So that'll come off, it'll get painted, and then we get to clamp it in. We saw the heater core get plumbed in. So that's almost everything we needed for cooling. I said we needed to do the power steering cooler as well. And when I stopped and bought one, I thought I bought the slightly different one. I should have checked the part number. The box was big. It had a big transmission cooler picture on the front of it. And that's what was in it. A little bit small and inadequate. Maybe if this was a small lightweight car, we could get away with that, but given how large the truck is and the weight and occasionally sawing the steering wheel quickly on the road course, this isn't going to keep up. So I sent John over at J&J a message. He's going to go out in the yard and see if he can find me the factory power steering cooler because it's quite a large one and it'll bolt directly onto our subframe where it mounts in that car. So hopefully he's got one and he can get it to me pretty quickly because we are almost ready to have all of our fluids in it because we're going to go to, again, Randy's place. We're going to get the rest of the fab work done. We're going to build the exhaust. Then we measure the drive shaft and get a drive shaft made, and then put fluids in it and see how long those poor little tires will last. I don't think they're going to last very long. Or maybe I'll go ahead and throw those other 20s on it because I'm not the biggest fan of them, and we'll just burn that rubber off and figure something out later. And as we wrap up the episode of Keeping Johnny Rev Cool, going through all the cooling systems, I'm gonna go ahead and start trying to get myself cool as it is a little warm in here. But that's summer in Georgia, what can you expect? Again, as always, I appreciate you hanging out with us as we're having fun building projects like this. I'm Jared, reminding you to always make questionable choices. And if you can't keep the back of your hand on the pavement for 5 seconds, it's too hot for your puppy's feet. We'll see you.